All right, guys. Today's guest is a social media expert and is the founder of Pink Sparrow Social. With a background in business marketing, she created an online social media agency, managing social media platforms of multiple businesses. But during COVID, that all took a hit as many of her clients' businesses got shut down. So instead of dwelling in her sorrows, she set out to rebuild, this time, a more lucrative way. She's grown her own Instagram account from 0 to 100,000 followers in 3 months and is now at nearly 250,000 followers. And she's managed to build a passive income stream through her social media that she's built 100% organic. So please help me welcome the woman who went from doing paper routes as a young girl to now the founder of one of the largest social media education platforms out there, helping people really master the art of Instagram Reels. My friend, Miss Anneke Harris.
Oh, what an introduction. That was incredible. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm very excited.
So good to chat with you. Like I said to you before we got started, I've watched your stuff for a while, and there's so many people I watch and follow. Obviously, like my whole business is on social media, so you always find people who are killing it at social media and reels you can kind of model from. And but you're one of the ones that I've watched for a while. I'm like, I love the way you do it because not only have you grown an incredible social media following and platform, but you've built it as an income stream and you've built it passively. And it's so cool. And now you're a new mom and you've been able to do all this at such a young age. So I just really like that about you. And I was so excited to bring you on here because so many people have skill sets already. And so many people have things that they like already, but they lack that drive, that ambition, or whatever it is to actually turn that into an income stream. And I want to ask you a question. What was it like? What made you dive into the field of entrepreneurship and the field of turning your passions into profits versus just getting a safe, secure job as like a marketing manager or something like that?
Great question. Already into the deep stuff. So as a young kid, I was already interested in entrepreneurship and things you can do to get outside the system. And as I was growing up, I actually noticed when I was scrolling through your podcast list, you had some of the experts on there that I listened to and I love, like Martini, delved into his stuff, Kevin Ray. I've done a workshop with him. So I guess, yeah, just exploring other big names inspires you to think, hang on, I can do this for myself. Like if you do the right thing consistently, you literally can achieve what it is you're setting out to achieve.
So have you got any, what was there ever like, have you always been in entrepreneurship or like, what was there, wait, tell me a bit of your background. Like, were you in corporate at once or have you just been from the get-go, you're like, I'm going to build businesses?
I guess actually when I was really, really young, I wanted to be a ballerina, funnily enough. I would eat, sleep, breathe ballet, like all my toys were ballerinas. And yeah, I tried out for the Australian Ballet, got into like the top 300. They're only taking like 30 girls. I didn't get in. Dreams were crushed, you know. And then when you're at that low point in your life, you start shifting like, hang on, what do I want to do with my life? Where do I want to head next? Yeah, so I was homeschooled for all of primary school. So I guess that helped give me that open mindset. And then when I went to high school, I delved into like lots of different categories, tried different things. I think it was only once I finished high school, I was like, what's something I could do where I could travel a lot, you know? And I was like, oh, great, I'll just become a flight attendant. Easy, done. I can travel and create the lifestyle that I want. And then things sort of shifted straight out of completing my marketing degree. I did that because I saw that if you become a flight attendant and you have a degree, you'll like get picked for the best jobs, you know, first class, all that kind of stuff. And then after doing the marketing degree, I was like, hang on, I really love this. This is really interesting, the psychology of how people's minds work. And then a friend of mine had a business and they contacted me. They're like, hey, you did marketing, right? Could you like run our socials for us? Like completely, you've got full control. Like we trust you. They're a good friend. And I did that. And it was so much fun just creating and helping another business grow. It's just lit something in me where this passion started growing and growing. Then I didn't know where it was going to go or how it was going to happen. But actually, the sad part was I had endometriosis, which meant for 1 week of every month, I was out. Like I couldn't do anything. And as you can imagine, the business owner was like, this isn't really sustainable. You can't just not be working for 1 week every month because, I understand you're in pain, but, it's not really that lucrative. So I was let go from that job, which was a big shock. I'm sitting there thinking, what am I going to do with my life? So I rabbit holed on YouTube and I learned all about social media marketing agencies. And I found this channel and it just like inspired me even more. I was like, hey, whoa, I could like create my own entire agency with multiple clients and have an income coming in, and I could be anywhere in the world and it's all completely online. And that's lifestyle design, which I love. You create your life and you just go for it. So I did. I went for it. I booked clients. I built this agency. And yeah, I was completely booked out, loving life. And then the next thing that happened was dun dun dun, COVID. Heaps of businesses, they just shut down. So as you can imagine, a lot of my clients were like, we can't continue this, our business is closing. So that was another dip in my little ladder that I'm climbing.
Yeah.
And when you hit that low point, it really forces you to pivot. So, I'd like emptied out my savings during this dark time. Me and my partner, because both of us, had no income coming in, we were really at such a low point. And I was like, my business isn't as sustainable as I thought it was, because what if this happens again? What if businesses close? So then what I did is I thought, how can I pivot this? So instead of, fishing for other business owners, I'm now teaching them how to fish. So I pivoted from managing accounts to now coaching, teaching other business owners to do the same. How can they grow their business on social media? And this way I can reach so many more people than what I did when I was booked out with a handful of clients. Now, opportunities are endless. I can reach an endless amount of people, helping to grow their business, which helps make what gets better. Their relationships get better, the communities get better, the world gets better. So I guess that's a little bit of my journey.
I love that. I love that so much. And I hope people caught that because, you're just talking about all the things that are going wrong and like you're losing your income and you and your partner are both. And then in those moments they're literally the moments that define our future. And people screw it up because they ask shitty questions. So I love like that you just said, I don't know if other people caught it. You asked yourself the question like, how can I pivot? And literally like our life can completely change if we focus on asking ourselves better quality questions instead of things like, oh, why is this happening? Or what the hell? Or da, 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 da. You're like, okay, cool. And I always talk about the three different types of people. Like the first person will complain about the wind that's pushing their way. The second person will just hope that it's going to change one day. Then the third person will just get up and be like, the wind ain't blowing the direction I want. How can I pivot to match the wind? And that's what I want. I think that's super important, especially when it comes into growing your business. Has it been quite smooth sailings since then? Or have you had any other sort of more setbacks?
Well, it's been pretty smooth, which is incredible, I think, because, when the wind comes, you ride the wind, you ride the wave. So it's never really a setback. It's sort of like a time to pivot or something's not working. All right, let's do this. My most frustrating thing is when technology is not working. You're like, my camera's not working. I can't record these beautiful slides I've made for my online course. And, you hit these little hurdles, but they're not enough to set you back because let's say tech not working is like a level 2 problem. And if your mindset is like at level 1, that's going to seem really hard. It's going to like bring you down. You're not going to catch that wind and ride it. But if you've leveled yourself up to be like a level 4, then level 2 problems are nothing. And you're riding that wind like a kite, like it's nothing. So if you're constantly leveling up, you can reach those highest heights.
I love that. So you talked about online courses and you've created an incredible income stream as well from your Instagram. For the people that are wondering how, where does the money come from? Like, so I'm assuming you're selling products and courses and stuff through your Instagram. Is that right?
Yes. It all comes from my online course, Reels Academy, the main income. There's a few other things, but that's like the big high ticket item in my funnel.
Right. Okay. So, okay, cool. So let's talk about social media. Okay. So, because like we were talking about before we started recording, I'm like, you're the one of the first people I started following that was teaching reels, and I was like, oh, you mean you? So people do reels to actually grow their business and sell product, not just dance around and shit. I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. So how does one? Can we talk about reels now? How does one actually leverage reels to grow not only their following, their audience, but also their income?
Great question. Oh, I love this stuff. I love that you've just jumped straight into the good stuff. You're like, that's enough background. Let's just get into reels, man. So there's a few things that you need to fall in place to actually leverage reels. It's not just the reels. So there's things like I'll delve into these if you like. Your gateway, your pillars, the quality of your reels, the content, the engagement, and then how you show up consistently. So you need to nail each of these areas to really leverage reels. So the common thing I see when I look at an Instagram account is there's a problem with their gateway. Now, if you have a problem with your gateway, you're unable to convert your views into followers.
What's a
When I
gateway?
say,
Like
I'm so glad you asked.
yeah.
The gateway, picture it's kind of like a door that people open when they decide to click that follow button. Your gateway is your bio. So it's the invitation to your party, and then your reels, they're the party. And the key thing here that's really crucial that I see a lot of coaches, business owners don't nail is there's this disconnection between their invitation and their party. There's a disconnection between what their bio says and what their reels are. So if there's this disconnection, it means you're never going to convert those views into followers from your reels. So first thing you got to do is nail your bio, your niche, make sure it matches the content you're delivering with your reels. Now your reels fall into content pillars. These are the pillars that hold up your followers really strong. So once you've converted them and you've brought them to your page, you need these pillars so that they stay there and they don't actually leave. And then after that, you can delve into like, okay, now that I know how to get people to my page, I've got my content pillars. The next thing you need to do is focus on making reels that are actually really good. And there's not much you have to do. If you can, captivate people, be unique, have a strong hook that draws them in, offer them some kind of value, whether you can make someone laugh or you can teach them something or inspire them, you've got their attention, because Instagram is an attention game. If you whoever can hold the attention the longest wins. So yeah, why are people on social media? They want to laugh, they want to be entertained, they want to learn something, they want to be inspired. So if you make sure that your content falls into those categories, then you're going to, ride the kite really well. And then the next thing you want to do is sell without selling. So instead of, it being this one-way conversation where you're like, this is me, buy my course, blah, 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 blah. Actually, instead, you want to develop a conversation. Treat social media like it's a date. Put the social back into social media. When you're sitting on a date with someone, right, and it's candlelit dinner, first date, you're not going to be like, hey, will you marry me? Straight up. No, that would be ridiculous. The person's going to like pack their bags and run out and be like, oh, I got to go. Mum's calling, emergency. So instead, you need to first develop like a beautiful conversation. People don't want to be sold to when they're on social media. So it's so crucial that, you're really working on how do I connect with people? How can I get conversations going? And then you make it really fun. And you don't want to be this billboard, this newspaper. You want to treat it like a date or you're chatting with a friend. And people are really missing that connection. And I think that's why they're going to social media, because they feel quite empty in their lives. They're not, their work isn't, they're not financially free, they're not living the dream life, which you and I have both created. Instead, they're quite sad, so they turn to social media. So all eyes are on there, and if you can then connect with those people, grab their attention, teach them something, inspire them, entertain them, then you're going to get people to trust you. And once people trust you, that's when they're going to buy from you. And then the next thing you want to do after you've driven all this engagement is do it consistently. Like I see people that are like, oh, I'm so pumped, I'm doing this, I posted every day for a week and nothing's happened. You told me I would grow like 100K like what you did, and nothing's happened. It's not working. And you know what, in my first 2 weeks of posting consistently, I barely grew 1,000 followers. It was like nothing. And it was only once I broke past the 30-day block that my account hit that first 10K. And then I was like, oh, this is amazing. So if you do the right thing consistently, it works. So then that lit this fire in me. I'm like, I'm going to do it another month. Then we hit that 40, 60K. And then by the third month, it was 100K. So that's sort of the signature framework that I teach my students inside Reels Academy, and is literally at the core of everything. Every business account, if they can nail these things, they're going to do so well.
I love that. Okay, so how about for the people, right? Because you're just saying like, I'm sure there's people listening to this. So you're like, it took you you got 1,000 followers in your first 2 weeks, and some people probably listen to this being like, holy shit, if I could just get 1,000 followers this year, that'd be amazing. For the people that are like pushing reels out, because like I pump out content. I think my team actually put out, I think we counted it the other day, about 500 to 600 pieces of content a month across all my platforms. So there's a heap of stuff going out, but we don't see like drastic growth. So what for the people that are like putting out content and they're doing the reel a day or whatever, and they're using reels and they're getting the views, but they're not growing, what do you think is the main thing that's missing for them? Or could it be a combination of many?
Yeah, great question. So this answer is different for every business, because I get people asking me this question. They'll look at their account. I'm like, okay, this person, they're not using call to actions to get their audience to talk. So no one's in the comment section. It's like crickets. So, and then for other people, it's like no one's even watching. So I'm like, okay, you need a better hook in your video. So to do that, I have to like really delve into your reels. And after this, I could probably take a look.
Okay, cool. Um, One of the other things you're talking about, right? It's like the thing is, and it is growing. Like more and more people now are using Reels, which I'm sure you're stoked about for business. I'm assuming the more and more people that are doing it, the more, for lack of better words, competitive it will be. So how can we make sure that we're standing out amongst the rest and not just having dancing TikToks to trending music like everybody else?
Awesome. I love it. So the thing you want to do is find your voice that's uniquely you. That is the one thing that will set you apart from everyone else, because no one can replicate who you are. And sure, it might turn some people away, but the right people will love you, because you could be like the ripest peach and someone's allergic to peaches. So, oh, hang on, excuse me a second. There we go. I put myself on mute. Just had like a major coughing fit.
You're right. You're right.
Need to just scull some water because I get so excited. I get slow down, take a breath.
All good.
So, what was your question, baby brain?
I forget what I asked. You're talking about you could be the ripest peach.
Yes, you could be the ripest peach, have the most amazing content out there, and someone's still going to be allergic to peaches. So, don't let that steer you away from, you know, showing up who you authentically are, creating content that's unique to you. So once you do that, you're going to set yourself apart from so many people. The other thing you need to do is have some sort of consistency with your branding. Like for me, it's like it's my pink jacket. People know when they go to my page, it's like, oh, it's Pink Sparrow Social. I know what to expect from her, and she consistently does that, which also builds that trust. And at the start I always say, hi, beautiful. That's sort of like my call phrase, catchphrase when I do my story. So you need to do something that's uniquely to you that no one else does. And the best way to do that is bring up your own voice.
Right. So what are some things you see people get wrong consistently when it comes to social media and reels? What are they doing wrong?
Oh, good question. Okay. It depends what level you're at. Let's start at the bottom. I see people crop their reels. So they've got all this black space at the top, black space at the bottom, and their reel is just like a landscape video in the middle. And, as a user looking at a reel, you go, oh, this is a rookie. I'm just going to scroll past. Like they're not giving them this full immersive experience. It's all cut off. And, you have to sort of squint when you look at it. That's not fun. So that's one thing that people do. Another thing that you have to avoid doing is having your text, hidden behind the icons on the left or your caption in the bottom. Again, back to that user experience. If they can't read your content, they're going to get frustrated and they're going to scroll away. That is actually really, really common, much more common than you think. People think everyone just watches their reels full screen. It's like sometimes it's through the Explorer or the feed, and that text being cut off is crucial. The next thing I see people do is they have their lighting all wrong. So if you're got light behind you, your face is going to be quite dark. So you want to make sure you're facing a window. Like you don't need professional studio lights or ring lights that I use. Sometimes a window is actually so much clearer if it's coming from the front, crisp, clean quality video. And I'm not saying you need to have an expensive camera, just make it look like it's not blurry, because there's actually an algorithm in place that looks at each little pixel on your video to determine, hey, is this blurry? Is it covered in text? Because Instagram wants people to stay on the platform as long as possible. So if you've got blurry image and text covering, they're not going to push your reel out to more people. So you need to make sure that you cover those simple, basic things.
So what are some main things that they should be doing instead then, right? Let's say for the people that are consistently posting, if they were to listen to this right now and they're like, okay, what's one thing I can take right now and put into my reels or my social media that could drastically change it? What do you think, if you like, of course it'd be different everybody, but if you were to generalize and be like, if people just did this one thing, a lot would change. What do you think that is?
Offering value. Literally, if you're not offering people something that they want to consume, they're not going to watch. So you need to make sure that you're giving something that your viewers want to consume. Now, I understand that some people may like have a pizza company, like, how do I offer value? And, other people will be like, I'm a coach. Like, how do I do that? Now, for the coach, what I've seen them do is they just focus on doing these funny reels and they're dancing. They're like, I've got views and stuff, but no one's buying my course. It's like, well, yeah, you're not offering that value. You're not offering like a little piece of the pie of your course. So for that coach, I'd be like, if you offer like a podcast teaching platform, like a platform on how to grow your own podcast, you need to be making reels that actually teach little bits of that. It needs to be like a little taste of what it is you offer, because the content you create is who you're going to attract. So people are going to be like, I followed this guy for tips on how to create my own podcast. And then they'll fall in love with your teaching style and they'll be consuming your content. They're like, hey, I need more. Like, what else has this guy got? And then they go, he's got a course. Sweet. I'm going to get that. So you need to be offering little snippets of your big ticket item to create that desire for it.
Yeah. And if people have got multiple offers, what do you recommend? Is it best to just, because what I'm thinking is it's probably better to just talk about one thing all the time, otherwise you'd confuse your audience and overwhelm them. Is that right?
I 100% agree. Like, I'm all for the one thing and do it right. Like, there's a book called The One Thing. I love that book. You pick one thing and you stick to it. It's so much easier to do all your marketing and everything. And it comes down to also niching down. When you niche down, everything becomes so much easier.
So how much time do you put into social media per day or per week?
Right now,
Yeah.
um, right now I'm like set it, forget it, because I've built everything up to be at a place where I barely have to do anything. Like, I set up this mini funnel and I pinned it to the top of my page because I was like, I'm having home birth with this baby. I'm not going to be able to like be on Instagram. I need to be in my little baby bubble for at least 40 days to do that. There's another book, The First 40 Days, for any female listeners out there. Postpartum, really important to just be in your bubble. So what I did is I made a reel that targeted people's problems, saying, if you are struggling with X, Y, Z, you need to do this. I have a free masterclass. Comment a specific keyword. From that keyword, they commented. It then triggered a DM conversation with my bot. Now, I was open with this in the DMs. I used ManyChat, and it's like this pink bot. I named it. People have a conversation with her, and it's really playful and fun. And then by the end, they sign up for a free masterclass, which they then watch. And then if they find enough value from that, there's a little timer on there which runs out. I think it was Deadline for that one. And they have a 9-day sequence email. This is an intense funnel, but it's just a short, simple one. On the ninth day, the funnel runs out and they don't get access to the fast bonus. And the fast bonus is a special bonus related to Reels Academy. So I set up this little funnel so that I could just leave it there and forget. And I didn't post for 40 days. I just had this reel that was drawing people's attention in. They wanted to solve the problem, which I said I know how to do. Then they commented on it. They got links to the masterclass. They got the emails. Then they bought my Reels Academy. So that's sort of, once you've built up your empire, you can sort of step back and create these systems that automate things. So
That's
that's
awesome. So then you didn't post for 40 days? Is that what you said?
yeah, yeah.
Wow. And did you notice a difference in engagement or anything like that once you come back on?
Well, on that particular reel that I posted, the engagement was nuts because the system I used, it actually comments for you as well if people comment a specific word. So it seemed as if the engagement was still up on that post. If I wanted to, I could set this up for my other posts, but I just wanted to do this post because I don't want to come across like, oh, I'm just talking to a bot this whole time. You still have to keep that personal side of
Yeah.
things. So I employed some staff members to take care of my DMs and keep that going up. And yeah, I guess it allowed me to just step back and be with my baby. And before that, I took a 4-month holiday. It was incredible. And yeah.
That's so good. So how do you structure? So because now you're a brand new mom, you're a mom, you're a business owner, you're a wife. I'm sure you've got a million other things that you also do. Uh, so how do you structure? Because I know a lot of people, at least they may think that if they don't have the social media gene, they're not going to be able to do it. Or do I have to spend all day making reels? So what's your sort of tips? Like, how do they sort of structure? Well, how do you structure your days between being a mom and doing all the things you need to do and consistently keeping up with new reels and new content and all of this?
Yeah, awesome. So glad you asked. So I have this thing I call the batching method, which I teach my students in depth in the academy. But basically, you group everything into these little batches, which make it so much easier. Now, if someone was to grab their phone, scroll, find a reel they like, or have an idea, film it, then do the caption, then the cover, and post it, that takes all day. And because you're switching between all these tasks, it uses a lot of brain power when you're switching. So, what I like to do is group everything into these little batches. And I'm not talking about like a batch of brownies. Now that you mention it, I could go for some food right now. But so for example, you would do all your research in one sitting and you give yourself a timer and you're like, hey, I've got 20 minutes. I'm going to research. And you're going to be so productive because you've got this time slot where you're not going to allow yourself to go over that time. So you're in the zone with that. And then another day, you're like, okay, I'm going to do all the filming on this day, and you get yourself ready. You get into the right mindset for that. You just pump them out, and you'll find it is so easy when all you're focused on is doing the filming. And then not even on the same day. I do this a different day. I write out my captions and I do my cover photos because filming mindset is very different to writing and using words and stuff. Like English is my second language. So for me, it's a big sort of pull away from, it pulls a lot of my focus. So
Yeah.
grouping them into these little batches, you're going to save so much time now. For example, let's say you wanted to post every second day for a week. That's only like 4 reels. So what you can do on like, say a Friday, you're like, I'm going to research and plan out my content. Sunday, I'm going to record it. And then Saturday, I'm going to do all my captions and have everything ready to go. And then for that whole week, you're like posting every second day. You've got content. You can do other things. Like you can go snowboarding. You can go to Fraser Island, foil driving. You can, you know, you have so much more time when you set time aside to do these things in batches.
I love it. Do you grow on other social medias as well, or are you just Instagram?
My key focus is Instagram. Like pick one thing and do it well, because if you're split on all these different platforms, you're sort of like a jack of all trades, a master of none. And I really wanted to be the master on Instagram and more specifically Reels. So I just honed in. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm just going to be the master of Reels. And I took everything I learned from my marketing degree, my experience running different accounts in different industries, and all the research, and applied that all to Reels.
So what platform, without being biased, which platform do you think is the hottest and best to grow on for 2023?
Ooh, good question. Okay. So you're going to hate me because I always loop around your questions. You actually need to take a step back and ask yourself, where is my audience? What is their
Mm,
demographic? Where do they spend the most time? And if you can figure that out, you'll start to see, hang on, my audience is on Instagram, or maybe it's younger, or they have a different interest. Maybe it's TikTok, YouTube, whatever platform they are on, that's the one you need to focus on. So there's not one that's like the hottest. It's more about being strategic about it and thinking, where is my audience spending the most time? I'm going to be there. I'm going to master that. I'm going to show up.
right. And do you think it would, like, will you go to other platforms? Like, let's say when you start growing your team and you have more of an infrastructure and more bandwidth, people to help. Because we could look at the other side of the conversation, like people like Gary Vee and Cohen Ray, they're always like omnipresence. Grant Cardone, and every single social media platform you open, you see them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
isn't that also probably what we should be doing? Or are you sort of saying, like, for the people just getting started, what do you think about that?
Yeah, good question. So a lot of those um, top dogs, they have, massive teams doing all their content. Now, the area that I've noticed they struggle in is when they try to take a piece of content and make it fit every platform, it doesn't quite perform as well because each platform has a unique style, a unique way of using it. So I see people using their podcast content and they're trying to post it all on Instagram, and it doesn't quite hit the same because Instagram has a different formula, a different type of audience. The content performs differently on there. Whereas you could post your podcast on YouTube and it would do great because people are there for that longer form content. So that's why I highly recommend picking one and doing it really well.
Yeah, awesome. So how about for people, do you think people who, if they haven't really figured out what it is they want to do yet, they want to create a life by design, they want to do all these sorts of things and have freedom, is there benefit in them just doubling down and growing a personal brand, even if they don't have anything to sell?
I reckon anything you do to better yourself, 100%, like go for it. Like, even if you don't know what you're doing, you'll find what it is you're good at. You just got to put content out there. You got to do stuff. And then you'll start to learn, hey, this works, this doesn't work. It's kind of like Willy Wonka, in order to find that golden ticket, what are you going to do? You're going to buy like heaps of chocolate bars. So with their Instagram. Let's narrow it down even more with Reels. To find the golden Willy Wonka of Reels that works, you're going to have to eat a lot of Wonka bars, post a lot of Reels till you find what works for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's better, quality or quantity?
Great question. When you're first starting out, I would highly recommend quantity. Like, you need to pump them out there because you'll find that Wonka bar, you'll learn what works and what doesn't work. And you have that time to experiment and find your voice. And then when you start growing a bigger audience, you can then work on building up the quality. Because if you're focusing on high quality stuff, it puts a lot of pressure on you. And you're not going to be posting reels as often because you're sitting there thinking, is this going to do really well? I'm putting so much effort in it. There's all this pressure to deliver this A plus content. But I'm saying focus on that C level and just get it out there. The pressure's off, you're having more fun. You'll find your voice so much easier than if you were trying to be perfect because you get this perfect post paralysis kind of syndrome if you're trying to pump really good quality content. So if you're starting out, I highly recommend quantity over quality. That's what I did when I first started. For me, it was a quantity, and now it's a quality thing. Like now I can post one reel in 40 days and I'm sweet. But you can't compare someone's journey where they are now to where they were when they first started. They operated completely differently. Like if you look at an Instagram account and go, oh, this dude posts high quality videos and they only do it like once a week. I need to be doing that. It's like, no, hang on, back it up a bit, buddy. When they first started, they weren't doing that. They were trialing and erroring everything, posting consistently, doing lots of different things. So I recommend quantity when you start, but later on, switch over to quality.
Yeah. How do you know when should you switch to quality? Like, is there a
I,
number of posts you should have? Or
well, that's different for every person. I mean, have you found your voice yet? Have you found what works for you? And if you have, double down on it. Go for it.
Love it. Who's somebody in the world, in the marketing space, business space, that you look up to, that you model from, that you think is just absolutely killing it right now when it comes to social media?
Oh, I have so many people that I follow on social media. One of my favorites would have to be Brock Johnson.
I
He's good.
knew you were gonna say Brock.
You did.
He's a savage, isn't he? But yeah, him and his mom are they're next level, hey?
They're a good team. Hey, they do
Yeah.
dancing videos, but they do it really well. Like they incorporate it with their Instagram and their marketing teaching. I did a live with him and I've done joint reels. He's just so much fun and a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah. I did see the joint reel. I'm glad you mentioned that. Is that like it's pretty freaking obvious, but is that obviously it is a good strategy to help grow followers and all that sort of stuff. How do you how can I put this? In America, I don't know if you get this as well. In America, they're more likely to actually want to collaborate and they're more likely to want to help and all these sorts of things. In Australia, there's more of a mindset of like that tall poppy sort of thing. How do you discover the right people to collaborate with, and how do you go about offering, I guess, an exchange of value? So two questions here. How do you discover the right person to collaborate with for your audience and your business? And how do you go around sort of pitching that, or I guess putting that idea to them?
Great. So if you're looking to collaborate with someone, first thing you need to do is make sure their audience is a match for yours. Because when you collaborate, you're merging audiences. So you want to make sure that the type of people that are following them line up with your brand and your values. So you want to make sure of that. The next thing you want to look at is how do they respond in the comments? You know, what type of language do they use? How much are they involved with their community? And once you've found someone that matches your vibe, their audience matches, you like green light, okay, go. And then the next thing you want to do is develop a relationship first. It goes back to the start of the podcast where we said, you can't just propose on the first date. You need to get to know someone. So you need to, comment on their content, reply to their stories. Because you know what happens when you reply to a story? It opens up a DM conversation. So you do not want to approach them with anything like, hey, let's collab. I love your stuff. Let's grow together. No, first you need to interact with their content, build a relationship, and then you can approach them with the idea of collaborating.
I love it. Value first.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And this has been amazing. If you were to never, ever, 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 ever
Whoa, what a start.
be able to deliver another piece of message, value, or tip to the social media world, what would you want the last bit of information come out your mouth to be?
Wow, I love this. Next time I have a conversation with someone, I'm gonna start with this because I love the big chats. I don't like the small talk. This is good. I'm stealing it, writing it down. Okay, if I was to just, mic drop, smoke bomb on social media, I would say if you do the right thing consistently, it will work, and show up as you. Boom.
Boom. I love it. This has been so sick. Where can everybody find you on social media and follow all of your stuff and comment on all your epic reels?
Thank you. I've had so much fun chatting with you. My Instagram handle is Pink Sparrow Social. You can check me out there. Again, thanks for having me on here. I love the way you host podcasts, the questions you ask. It's really fun and free flowing. And I really like what you're doing on your page, actually, how you're inspiring people to live their dream life.
I appreciate you. Awesome. Anneke, I've got one final question for you to wrap this up. Are you ready?
There's more.
There's always more. If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self and give her 30 seconds of advice, what would it be?
30 seconds of advice for little Anneke. Do what makes you happy and just follow that, because if you're happy with what you're doing, nothing else matters, and you will find the drive, the passion, the energy to do anything.